help where we can, and we could use some help.
Point is, his document is still at the fort, main building.
They are paid to parachute in and grab someone.
He doesn't need to know who.
They're here to get me. Look, I stole medical supplies, okay? And I sold them on the black market.
Welcome back to Frank's Penance. Last time we were given a little moral decision there by our buddy Flora. She wanted us to lure some special forces to an ambush for them to be killed because they were coming after her. The reason they were coming after her was because she has been stealing their medical supplies and selling them on the black market. However, she's been doing so to circumvent the corruption at the higher levels of government, who, if they had gotten hold of the medical supplies, probably would not have given them to the people. So it's sort of a moral seesaw as to what to do. I have decided, as Frank, that I am going to do it, both because I need friends and because it seems like a good idea, and the lives of soldiers, special forces, aren't something that Frank particularly cares for. So I'm going to gear up and head to the location where I need to misinform the man feeding information to the special forces so as to lead them into this ambush. My mother had long since given up on controlling my behaviour. My father was getting so ill that I don't think he really knew what I was doing most of the time. The truth is that back then I didn't really think about either of them at all. But just before I died, I thought about them every day. It's hard not to think about them and feel that something has to be done, to do the impossible, and make the horrors of the past not matter anymore. I was foolish enough to try it, and foolish enough to wind up dead. A couple of months passed after my first jolly walk across the fields with Fergal and co. before I got word from them again. I was starting to think I'd been forgotten, but never once did I miss my daily trip to the woods to look for evidence of the cell. Finally I found a hidden letter from Fergal. He was going to meet me the next day. No more information was provided, nor was any needed. I was getting picked up for a trip by my good-as-dad old groomer. I got my shit together, which was now a lot less makeshift and a lot more paramilitary, and sat in the woods like a kid outside of school. He didn't show at the time he had said. He didn't show 3 hours later. Little did I know I wasn't the only one sitting there in the woods. Probably only a few meters behind me, a couple of guys from the village were sitting. They had followed me, probably hoping to debunk my regular claims of being in with the Republicans. I gotta give it to those IRA guys. I didn't notice them approaching, or notice when they snatched the guys watching behind me, bound them, and set them across their shoulders like one of Fergal's freshly hunted animals. I was happy and surprised when they finally emerged into the clearing, but Fergal stormed up to me and shot me down for letting anyone else know about the meeting point. He was right, and only then did I even consider the idea that telling everyone in the world that I was a terrorist might be a bad idea. I bet Fergal regretted letting me in right then. I hope he did. The voyeurs were sent back to the village with a few disturbingly earnest death threats to whip them on their way. I was given a scolding without any mention of my mortality and told to get myself carrying the shit again, as we were going to be walking even further for that mission. That mission, and most of the ones I'd get taken on over the next year, wasn't as pointed as the assassination that opened my career. Mostly we were just stealing things or planting things where incrimination was the goal, or sometimes just pulling Republican PR stunts and scaring Northerners. So I've now arrived near the area where the informant is located. He's staying in a villa up the road to my left. I've just come through the outer walls to the villa's estate. However, there are some militiamen outside on a jeep firing a heavy machine gun in my direction. I need to silence them before I can make an approach, otherwise any militiamen inside the villa itself will surely come out and investigate the fighting. Luckily they went down with relative ease. So with the entrance to the villa secure, I'm now free to make my approach. Now there's a road leading up to the villa, but I obviously didn't want to take that because I can see on the map that there is a checkpoint I'm going to have to go past. And I thought it's going to be easiest if I can sneak past the checkpoint without being seen and get into the greater villa complex and then start looking for this informant. So I'm going to try and use stealth to get past both the checkpoint and any guards outside the villa. I am probably going to have to try and sneak my way out again because there's no other way to get out of the villa other than using a river on its north side, but that river isn't going to go where I need to go next, which is to go and see what's going on with the whole ambush situation in the shanty town of Mukumba, and of course at some point I do need to try and destroy the special forces gear, which is what I'm trying to do for the UFLL. So I'm now approaching the checkpoint. I can see a small building, there's walls around it, and the actual checkpoint is slightly to the right of the building. I don't see anyone immediately on my side. There are 2 guys at least guarding the road, but because of the positioning of this building, I should be able to walk by this area without them actually seeing me at all. So I'm keeping low, staying in the grass to reduce my visibility and staying in the shadows as well. It looks like I'm getting past this checkpoint without any issues. There was a window there in the building, so it's possible if their guard had come in and looked out the window they would have seen me, but I got away with it. So now I need to continue northwards. This small path should lead me all the way to the villa. It seems it runs parallel to the road, which is just on the other side of these rocks you can see here. I'm going to have to sneak through this little marshy area. That increases the amount of noise I'm making, so it could attract attention, but I don't think the guards were near enough to actually hear it in this case, so it's okay. Now as I continue on, the path I'm on is rising up above the road, but there's a building down there on the right, and there's no cover between me and the building and the road in front of it, and there are actually a couple of guys walking around down there, so I do need to be careful and try and get past them whilst they're not looking up at this little ridge that I'm on. I can also see the house there in front of me, so I decided to zoom in on the house, and I saw there's a sniper on the balcony, and as I was looking at him through my binocular, he looked right at me, and a gunshot sounded out in the valley, so I'm pretty sure he saw me, or at least he thinks he saw something, and fired in this direction, and that gunshot will have alerted the guards down there on the road, so I now need to be very careful. I don't think they know that I'm up here. They just know that something's going on, so they're not specifically looking out in the location where I am, but they are looking for someone. I move forward, the sniper fires again, the shot lands much closer to where I am. I think he did actually see me there. I jump forward and start making a run for it around the west side of the villa. I don't think the sniper's informed his comrades as to my exact location. A lot of them are still looking around and blind firing. As I move over, it looks like they've actually spotted me now, so I'm going to start making a run for it. I rush out for my cover behind that van because the van had explosives in the back, so I don't really want to be taking cover there. Take out one of the guys in front of the villa. That's one fewer enemy to worry about, but of course I don't know how many guys are around here. There's this shed or garage next to me, and I decide if I can get inside it, it'd provide me good cover from pretty much all directions. There's no one around the back of the house, at least no one I can see at first, so I managed to get inside with no opposition. Looks like there's another garage shed type building right next to me, a little bit close to the house. There's an entrance to the house on the side of the building that I'm on, so I don't need to go around the front or the back where the majority of the militiamen seem to be stationed. I get my revenge on the sniper there, so now I don't have to worry about moving around outside with that sniper looking for me, so that's actually quite relieving to have him gone. Now there was gunshots coming from back here. I move out the back of the garage and there's a guy standing right there. I gun him down at close range mercilessly. Someone starts firing at me. I can't quite see where they are because there's too much grass, but then I spot their muzzle flare. They were firing a shotgun at long range. They had little hope of actually hitting me, so all they did was give away their position. So now I'm moving up close to the house. There's another enemy. He's firing at me. I can't really see where he is. There's another one in the background firing at me from cover who I can't see at all. I decide that rather than engaging with them, I'm just going to move inside the house. Since I am on my own, keeping moving is always a good idea. I have to walk past the open front door. I take a bullet as I do, but I think I managed to kill an enemy as well. So I'm heading upstairs. I'm still looking for this informant. I find him just randomly going into the rooms, and he seems to know what my general deal is. He knows I want something, so he's quite willing to go with my plan.
Bravo Papa Mike, this is Charlie 2-4. Do you read?
We copy, go ahead.
Stand by for coordinates.
Roger that.
Really screwing the deal for me here. Just leave me alone, will you?
So it seems he has capitulated. We've managed to feed these special forces the incorrect coordinates, which means they should now be heading to an ambush by APR soldiers. Outside, the militiamen are just wandering around. I think that they think I've left or run away, and now Flora's on the phone.
Special forces men are heading towards Mukumba now.
She just confirms that she spotted the special forces moving, so it seems the plan is working. Although to get any further with the plan, I now need to escape, and most of the militiamen are probably still alive. There's at least two right there. I considered taking them down with the silenced pistol that I bought. They wouldn't know where I was if I fired the silenced pistol, but they would know I was somewhere, so it provides you with a little bit more stealth than a regular weapon. But of course, in this situation, I don't really need to take them down. There's no reason for me to give away the fact that I'm still here at all if they really have forgotten about me. So I'm going to try and just escape without them seeing me. I'm heading back in the exact same route I came in on, because I think it does provide some quite good cover. Yeah, this van blocks the field of view from any enemies outside the front of the villa for me coming up the little ridge, and now that I'm in the grass, I'm further covered from any enemies seeing me. The fact that I took out that sniper is pretty much vital to me getting out here, because the sniper would see me from the balcony climbing up these rocks to escape. It looked like there the militiamen were actually looking around still, so they do still suspect I am there by the looks of things, but they're going to be looking for a long time, because I'm now going to make my way out, and I need to make my way to Mukumba to go and finish off the gear of these special forces where they've left it. The special forces themselves are probably already dead, but of course the APR will still be there, so I'm going to have to fight my way through the APR ambushing force and then get to the special forces gear. All the work is coming down to Frank for this one. Although there was always a sense of a plan to Fergal's decisions, there almost definitely was none. He had no idea whether our actions were helping the cause. In retrospect, we pretty much achieved nothing. But I was seduced by his confident leadership, his way of wording each menial task as if it was just as important a step as pulling a trigger, and the fact that he was pretending to care about my well-being, while my parents were pretending not to. He was teaching me things that stuck. Things like how to go unnoticed in a crowd, how to use iron sights on a gun, and most engrossingly of all, how to produce bombs from stuff you could just steal from just about any farmstead. It was the schooling I wanted, and the one I needed at the time, but certainly not one that positively impacted my future in any way. Over that year I also came to be somewhat trusted by the rest of the cell, although they were enough years older than me to have pretty much nothing to say. But even those Spartan friendships were more valuable to me than the rivalry I had going with the other roguish kids in the village, so the cell became my de facto community, my family, and the source of the relationships that defined me as a person, and what a detestable definition it was. But that's not to say I had abandoned my home life entirely. I still spoke to my mother on occasion. She knew exactly what I was up to and would drop her gentle hints that I should probably stop, but I would reply with arguments for having her join the fight too. Yes, I was so in deep that I was trying to convince my mother to fight for the cause. We talked about the cause many times, but I never convinced her of anything. She was of the opinion that violence was unjustified in any situation, and thus discounted any value there might be to it. A dogma that I utterly detested and mocked at the time, and actually after all these years, I still think she was naive to think that. A year after that first deadly mission, another day came when killing was on the agenda. There had only been one other mission in that year where we'd gone out to kill someone, but we got spooked when it looked like the police were searching for us and gave up. I was the last one to leave as the cops approached. That should give you some idea of the arrogant strain of confidence I had developed by then. But this next deadly mission would put that green metal to the test. I knew it was going to be a historic day when Fergal turned around and handed me an assault rifle, along with all the trimmings. We had met in another untrodden wood that had taken me half a day to reach, but the feeling of the clammy metal body of that Deathbringer made it all worth it. I had been aching to use one of their proper weapons, and on that particular day Fergal was drunk or desperate enough to let me loose. Fergal explained to the crew that we were going to take the conflict to the next level. His plan was daring as fuck. We were going to link up with another active service unit and steal some military gear, including vehicles, from a recently established border checkpoint. He didn't need to tell us that it was going to be covered not just in police, but British troops. But he did try to convince us that said troops would be shaky and disloyal and would probably run when they realised something was going down. I believed him. The others were nodding, but they knew people a lot better than me, so they can't really have agreed. The first phase of the plan was a risky drive in a battered old van Fergal had acquired without explanation, travelling south to meet the other cell and crossing our fingers that no snitches found our damning cargo of weapons, armour and explosives. We ended up in a quiet spot behind a workshop in a tiny village where the 4 members of the other cell were waiting. couldn't tell much about them since they were enthusiastic enough to already have their balaclavas and armour on. The fact they could walk around like that told us all we needed to know about the allegiance of this village. So I'm now approaching Mukumba, the shanty town where the ambush occurred and where the APR ambushes are probably still waiting around. So I need to get past them and find the Special Forces gear. It's on my map. I can tell that it's somewhere on the other side of this shanty town from where I am. So I begin by scouting what I can see. There's a guy with an RPG standing right in front of me. He's looking down over the road heading into the shanty town. So I'm probably going to have to get rid of him because his vantage point, can allow him to see me wherever I go. Now I'm trying to use the silenced pistol as a sniper weapon. The problem with this is that because you have a silencer attached to the pistol, it reduces its power, which means you can't kill an enemy with a shot to the body. You have to hit them in the head, which means you have to be particularly careful when using this pistol at anything but very close range where you can just blast off multiple shots into the same opponent. So I took out the RPG guy. I see 2 militiamen patrolling on the road. I take them out, and this of course probably has alerted the rest of the militiamen in the shantytown that something is going on, but at this point they have absolutely no way of knowing what direction I'm coming from, where I am. I could already be in the shantytown for all they're knowing, so they're probably looking around. I see some more guys running about in the distance. There's at least 2 more guys over there. I suspect there are many more hidden amongst the buildings because this position isn't very good for actually scouting out. So there's probably loads of guys I can't see. I hear some pistol shots being fired off nearby. I can't tell where they're coming from, but I'm beginning to suspect the enemy have an inkling as to where I am. I throw a Molotov cocktail. The idea was just to start a fire that would distract the enemy, but it's too late. They spotted me up on my rock, so I'm forced to go loud. I managed to hit one of the enemies with my assault rifle, but now they know at least I'm in this direction. I need to start moving before they start all surrounding me. My plan is to try and move around to the east side of the shanty town. I'm currently on the west side, so I need to move as fast as I can. I do have to run across this open part in the road, which is a bit of a problem. I think there could be guys who would fire at me as I run across the road and score some deadly hits. I can't see anyone though as I'm looking down the road. I throw a grenade as general cover, hoping the grenade will distract them for a moment and then rush. I find this gap in the edge of this corrugated metal wall so I can get inside the actual shanty town itself. Inside it's kind of a little bit of a maze. I have no idea which direction enemies might come from, but conversely they have no idea which direction I might come from, so I have the same advantage as them. This little door looks out onto the road. I look out, there are 2 enemies out here. One of them sees me immediately, but I don't see him. But then once they start firing, I realise where both of them are and take them out with some sharp bursts. There's another guy in a shed back there who I can't see. I fire because your bullets do go through these walls, which means even if I have an inkling there's an enemy behind one, I can just fire. You can see bullets are coming through the walls from all directions. I have no idea where the enemies who are firing at me actually are, but they seem to know where I am. So I'm forced to just move. I have nothing to fire at, so I'm just going to keep moving and hoping they don't actually zero in on my location. I still need to get further towards the east side of the village. I'm kind of swooping around the south now, staying away from that main road where I think most of the enemies are. There's still lots of gunshots going off. I don't know if they know where I am, if they're just firing randomly at this point. I spot an enemy behind a little wooden pallet. He gets a cheeky hit on me and then jumps into cover. I decide to just leave him to it and keep moving rather than engage in a long-range gun battle with him because he is going to cool on his allies very quickly. I need to get into a new location. There's now a little dry riverbed on my right, and there are the supplies belonging to the Special Forces under the river, under the bridge, in that riverbed. So now I know where they are. I just need to secure the area so I can destroy them. I take a shot from behind. There's someone on the other side of the river, but I don't see them when I look back. So they must have taken a shot and then dive back into cover. I decide that it's probably in my best interest to go over there and take him out, both because I need to get rid of this threat to my rear side as I attack the rest of the enemies, and because from this direction I can't be attacked from the rear because of these mountains on my right hand side. There's a couple more guys over here by the looks of things, or perhaps guys from the centre who've come over here to look for me. Managed to take them out with a few well aimed bursts. So far I'm still at full health, so things are going okay. Another guy emerges, I'm firing at him, but there's some stuff in the foreground which are blocking my shots. Managed to take him out in the end though. Down to about 2/3 ammunition. I do need to be careful about running out of ammunition because I can't carry very many. I can buy upgrades to allow me to carry more clips at once, which will mean prolonged gunfights, more something I could get engaged in. Take out another enemy, but I'm still taking gunfire from directions that I just can't work out. I figure they're somewhere across the river. I come over here to look, and and I see there's someone down in the riverbed who's firing up at me. Even though I have a superior position, the burnt out old van that's between me and him stopped any of my shots hitting him, but apparently he has a better shot on me and manages to take off tons of my health. So I'm using one of my Surrettes to get the health back. 2 Surrettes remaining, still taking shots from somewhere on my left. I tried to outflank that guy. He's still firing down in the westward direction towards the other end of the riverbed. But for some reason the bullets hit me. I think there's a slight glitch going on there. So I lost another ton of health. Unfortunate. But still, I think I'm now finally finishing off the resistance from the militiamen. I don't know if there are any left. There's probably 1 or 2 guys still around who just don't really know where I am. I come across a lucky stash of health and ammunition here in the burnt out truck, so my health is back and I get another Surrette. So actually I'm in a pretty good situation now at the end of that fight, thanks for finding that stuff. So now I'm starting to think about actually how to get rid of this van full of enemy supplies. It does have some explosives in the back there, so a well-placed shot probably would blow it up, but just to be safe, I decide to get as far away as I can, pull out my rocket launcher and take a shot right into the back of the van. And the van goes sky high. It's telling me that my history with Flora has increased. This is because I did the mission in the way that she wanted, so she now likes me now, and I unlocked various upgrades to safe houses as a result.
With the men from the APR. You didn't just burn that truck, did you? Right, okay, this is bad. You better come find me.
Okay, so things have gone problematic. It seems that Flora is with some more APR guys. She's actually just down the road on a small guard checkpoint, and they're pissed off that I just blew up that truck, and they are probably blaming her for it. So I need to get over there and make sure things are going okay. The APR probably aren't going to be very happy to see me, and Flora could be in trouble. This often happens after missions you do for your buddies. Your buddies end up getting themselves into scrapes in which they can permanently die. So these are moments where you have to be very careful. If your buddy is killed by enemy gunfire in one of these sequences, they'll never come back. That's the end of your buddy. Any history you have with them will be wiped out. However, you will keep any upgrades to your safe house you got as a result with working with them. So you're not sent completely back to square one, but it is still inconvenient. And of course, there are a limited number of buddies in the game. So if they all die, then you're here on your own. There's only a certain amount of foreigners who are willing to help you out. So I approach the checkpoint where I think Flora is. I see gunfire just as I approach, so I realise something's gone wrong. I start sprinting in. I'm looking for enemies. I can't really see anyone. Then I spot on my right a vehicle with 2 enemies in it. I fire at it instinctively. I have no idea whether they were really a threat or not, but I just figured that something was happening. As I approach, more guys emerge from the other side of the road. They were rushing towards Flora actually and don't really see me until I start firing, and that slight surprise gives me a nice advantage. That truck I fired at earlier comes over. The gunner had already been killed. The driver was still alive, but he didn't last long once he got out and tried to engage with me. So here is Flora. She's just sitting there trying to unjam her weapon. It seems these guys were actually coming for her. She's not terribly grateful for the fact I saved her, but she at least acknowledges that it was overall a bad idea to be hanging out with these APR guys. So, I have now successfully completed the mission. I've got everything that I need because my safe house was upgraded as well. The UFLL have got everything they need because the special forces they were worried about haven't just lost their equipment, but they're all dead. The APR are probably the losers in this battle. They've lost men, the opportunity to steal the equipment, which is what I think they wanted. And Flora has got what she wanted in that she has avoided being killed by the special forces, although she was almost killed anyway due to her slight stupidity with trusting the APR. So hopefully a lesson has been learned for next time. So following the battle at Mukumba, I scouted out the area for a while, managed to find a diamond, and then I headed back to Mike's bar to meet up with Flora once again.
It's good that you're here. I just learned of a large weapon supply. A man I know, he told me, has been hiding them at his ranch house. The APR has seized his home, you see. He is afraid they will find his guns, and then things will get very bad around here. The weapons are hidden in his house. I'm looking for someone willing to go there and destroy the cache. Maybe you. Bueno, we already have enough weapons around here.
So it seems like Flora has another mission for us, and this time it's the sort of mission that Frank wouldn't hesitate to accept, because going and destroying those weapons and thus preventing the militias from finding them is definitely a good thing to do. As Flora notes, there are already enough weapons in South Mali, we don't need any more. So I'm going to try and locate the house of this man where the weapon stash is supposedly hidden, and then see if I can get inside and get rid of it without any militiamen interfering. first thing Fergal did was start ordering these new guys about. They probably had their own leader, but he didn't speak up. At the time, I noted their submission to Fergal with a childish glee, not thinking for a second that I was making the same mistake. I saw it as a vindication of my loyalty to him, a sign that I was right to trust this man who clearly commanded respect. Respect was another one of those concepts I had got embarrassingly wrong, by the way. I spent the drive northwards thinking about how easy it was to get people to do things for you if you just gave them a few threats. Seemed like it was the secret to success, and perhaps in the business I would find myself in throughout my short life, that was true. I was crammed in the back of a van with everyone but Fergal, who sat up front in civilian clothes. Everyone was getting ready in their minds, psyching each other up and joking about the matters of mortality we might soon be facing. It wasn't until that point that I started to realise that I had been handed that assault rifle not as a present or a token of Fergal's friendship, but because Fergal expected shit to go down and wanted me doing the dirty work on the front line. You might think I felt scared or used, but it was the opposite. At the time, I thought that actual fighting was the most important bit of war, and was stoked to be given a chance to get my hands bloody. People talked about warriors using words like glory and hero, and I felt overdue for having such words spoken alongside my name. It was moderately late at night when the van finally halted. The last couple of miles had been pretty bumpy. It turned out we'd been driving down byways and across fields, and were now on the edge of some overgrown field tucked away behind towering hedgerows. There we were to stay for a night as uncomfortable physically as it was socially. I learned that the guys from the other cell had done this kind of thing before, and that they had known people who had died going up against the British Army. They didn't seem fazed by it, so like the chameleon that I was, I thought nothing of it either. So now I've parked up just north of the location where the house is marked on my map, and I can just about see it through my monocular. I can't see if there are any guards, so I wanted to try and get on top of this rock here to get a better line of sight, but unfortunately I couldn't climb on top of it. So instead I'm going to have to go around the small hill that was blocking my view and attempt to scout out the area from a different angle. So now my next objective is going to have to be either kill everyone around the house and get in to take out those weapons, but that of course partially defeats the point of taking out the weapons altogether, so ideally I want to try and just get in, destroy the weapons and get out before anyone knows I'm there. To see if I can do this, join me next time on Frank's Penance.